beautiful hair days in your world, okay? Some people have them dragged out like you. And me, I had just a small reign of glory that was more beautiful than anybody else's hair. And then God said,
burn it all off. Good morning, everybody. As you can see, you're taking a peek at Jason and I in the background this morning, discussing hair. We've been through Yanni's hair, Jason's hair that he sold to somebody for $500 at some point, and my hair, which happens to be doing this frizz thing because the weather is the air is kind of dry and crispy here. So my hair does this is why I can't blow dry my hair. If I blow dried my hair, I would be the lioness.
I've only ever heard somebody ever say it's, cool and crisp. I've never heard anybody describe the air as crispy. It's a whole different, you know what I'm saying.
Are you making fun of me? Are you making fun of me?
Oh, listen, look, you gave me the ball joke right off the bat, bitch. We are out, the gloves are off. If I didn't have a big dick and a big ego, I would have been
I love you, Jason. You know that. That's why we have such fun together.
My bipolar is, oh my God, it's another gloomy day here. Please just, I know it's sunny somewhere.
Oh, hey, that's a beautiful look. I'm not sure what you just did, but you are totally digitized or something. Like, oh my God, you know those 3D pictures that you look at and you got to find the animal in the picture? That's what you look like right now. I'm Jason in the digital.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
But I'm digitized and we are
now you look like you have gaps in your teeth. Like when you laugh and you open your mouth, you look like you have no teeth. Oh, now your teeth are back. Now it looks like you have something in your throat. Oh my God, this is too funny, people. I don't know what the hell
I have someone in my throat. Yeah, good morning, Mimi.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning in the Meta Cafe for your daily astrology, human design, and tarot energy report. The energies are a little whacked out this morning, apparently. They're amusing. Today is an amusing sort of day. Gina Rose, good morning. I'm not sure if I've ever seen you out there before, but she's 16 degrees in New Hampshire. Holy God, is it that cold where you are, Jason?
Well, first of all, welcome, Gina. Second of all, that's what you get for fucking... I mean, I remember Connecticut. I remember Massachusetts weather in the winter, Ohio winter, New York State winter. So you all deserve it because you get the other side. Your springs and summers in New Hampshire are stunning.
Are they?
The winters, no thank you. Well,
honestly, I have no real idea of that kind of cold. Every once in a while, we will get that kind of cold here, but I'm a Southern California girl. I grew up down south. It was 80 degrees a good chunk of the year. Maybe 60 degrees in the winter sometimes. But I lived in Southern California when it actually rained. Nowadays, I'm not sure that they get enough rain. So that's a testament to the climate changing, the desertification of some of the Southwest here, the desert encroaching upon the coast. At any rate, so we're here this morning to talk to you about what's going on in the stars. And good morning, our friend Roseanne is out there. Today we have an interesting day because, I was looking into a couple of things. One, I don't know if you follow the news at all, but if you didn't follow the news and find out that Roy Moore crashed and burned in Alabama last night, thanks in part to Black women and to Black men who went out in large numbers and voted. Woohoo! Good job. What we're seeing, interestingly enough, is an empowerment of some of the, God help me, the weaker sectors of our society. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean these are the sectors, women, Black men, who need to empower themselves in order to be equal with the white male sector of our population. And it is happening in a big way. So that caused me to start looking at some of the feminine planets, of which there are not very many of them, in the chart, so I could see kind of like what is going on here. And oh, I love it, Gina. Yes, he is a douche, definitely. And we have a douche as a president, and he's next. You can tell that that's happening because everybody's calling on that to happen. Otherwise, we are left with a double standard that says it's okay if you're the president of the United States to behave badly, but if you're a senator, or if you're a movie mogul, or if you're an actor, or if you're a news broadcaster, it's not okay for you to do that. So someone's better wake up and smell the coffee here and see that double standard before it creates a real issue. Did I say that out loud? Okay. Anyway, yes, you did hear that, folks. I called our president a douche. I don't know what else to call him. What else do you call a man who gets out there and tweets and, intimates that a woman would be willing to get down and do anything for money for her campaign?
Grab her by the pussy. Grab her by
Yeah. So I was looking at a couple of different planets to get back on topic here, and two I were looking at were Eris and the Black Moon Lilith. Now, neither of them are, well, Eris is actually a dwarf planet, but the Black Moon Lilith, ooh, man on fire. Hold that for a second. And what I saw here is, interestingly, Eris has been in Aries in a very masculine sign, right, driven by Mars. And she's been throwing out that golden apple of discord for the last couple of years and upsetting the apple cart, right? Some of the things that are happening out there are really interesting and surprising. They shake us to our core. And then we have the Black Moon Lilith, who moved out of Sagittarius and into Capricorn, where now karma is taking hold, right? We're now in Saturn's territory, and the old guard white male patriarchy is under attack by the feminine. And I use the word attack, but I don't mean literally, that I'm not sure that it's a conscious attack. I think it's finally an empowerment that's happening. It's sweeping through the weaker sectors of our culture to become empowered and rise up and meet the patriarchy, on an even playing field, which is long overdue, if you ask me. And you know how, Jason, we've been doing in my radio show, we were talking about how Uranus moves into Taurus, a feminine sign, in May of 2018. The same day that occurs, which is May 15th, the Black Moon Lilith conjuncts Pluto in Capricorn. Now, what we're seeing, people, is an assault on some of these big institutions, corporate America, the government, any large institution that can include the military, it can include the education system, it can include religions, where we see one after another these things falling. I love it, Roseanne, off with their heads. And literally, I believe we're seeing a snowball, right, going downhill, gaining speed, gaining more and more rocks and matter that are going to really collide as we get into 2018. And it's going to play out most likely in the political field, where we can really, with our voices and our votes, make a change. So expect more and more empowerment of the divine feminine, not to overtake the masculine, but to meet the masculine in an even playing field, in Libran balance, as opposed to what's been happening, and that is that double standard where women have been made to grovel for jobs and do sexual favors in order to climb the corporate ladder, the same corporate ladder that any man can climb without having to suck dick or do anything, sexual for that. So I'm off my stand now. Let's see what kind of card Jason has here, because I like this man on fire look.
Janet Elaine Hickox. Did I just hear you say suck dick?
You did.
Oh my God. I am so rubbing off on you. Folks, if you had seen this woman a year ago, oh my God. She was so Pollyanna. I'm sitting here like urinating on myself, laughing, trying to keep myself together, because he's like, suck dick. And I'm like, what? Thank you. Well, I got the Prince of Wands on my shoulder.
Yeah, let's bring him in. Let me hide the comment.
By the way, Gina, you sound like you have like a stripper name. What was her last comment? Bring her last comment up.
Gina says, the weather and trauma, the earth is hiccuping. What?
Yes.
Gina Rose?
I can't help but think of like a vaudeville stripper. But anyway, okay.
Haha. Okay, so let's hide this and hide you. There we go. So we have the Prince of Wands who has flames everywhere. I see red, which tells me there's passion, that tells me there's conflict, that tells me there's something going on, and it's maybe of a spiritual nature even, because red is kind of a royal color. What the heck does this mean, Jason?
Look at this man.
He is burning down.
He is the Prince of Wands. What is he standing on? A wand. He is balancing, literally like a tightrope with his little peeper, on fire. And he's not completely engulfed in fire, is he, Janet?
No, he's not ashes yet.
His environment is hot and generally denotes sexual misconduct. In this card, you see him. He is now in this, what I call the receiving or I give up position. You'll see his stance. This is the gig's up. You're fucked. And furthermore, the card's name, if I had to quickly throw a name out, is severely uncomfortable. This person is not completely on fire. This person has patches burning on him. This person is on a tightrope. This person's mental, physical, social status, job are all in the ballast, depending on how things go. So they're doing a tremendous balancing act. Yep. This is what happens when people get found out. There's nothing they can do about it. And they are now experiencing the discomfort of what has happened, and they're on a balancing act. This card is not generally so much a I'm doing this to me thing as you're fucked. This is being done to you because of the decisions you have made. I'll get this from somebody who wants to go to college but doesn't know what they want to study. Yeah,
okay.
So it has all those heavy connotations, but it has that too. But this is the card of exactly what you said of these men who are abusing their first chakra, and now they're feeling the repercussions, and they're doing a balancing act. They're all, you hear their jive. I got so tired of it, because Bill Cosby to me was kind of like a black hero growing up, and not because of his strange, pedophile like Jello pop thing. I have to time those things better when you're not full of tea or coffee. And then I used to watch his routines and marvel at his timing, and and when he was young in the detective shows, he was fucking beautiful. Yeah. I stopped finding out because my childhood got just kind of more. I mean, I'm already pretty demented, so I don't need to hear that Bill Cosby is, Fat Albert. I mean, this guy was like as important as Robin Williams. But anyway, whatever happened? Did they convict him, or did they find out that he did? Because I saw a comedian do an act last night, Craig Ferguson, who is by far my favorite bipolar person. The name service every single day. And he made a joke about Bill Cosby, and then he made a finger joke. And I was wondering whether some details came out about him fingering someone or blah, blah, blah.
That I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him. Okay. But it is, it's interesting because this is not something that just started, with the whole Henry Weinstein thing. Because if you go back a couple of years, the Catholic Church was under fire for the pedophile priests and that whole thing. Yet that wasn't enough to change the conversation. Men didn't get it yet, that their days were numbered, mostly because the church took care of all of this in-house, and it really didn't reach out into the general population. And then you get someone like a Bill Cosby who comes along, and woman after woman after woman is coming out and saying, this is what happened. And still, it's been sort of, quiet. I mean, it was big thing at the time, that it first was brought up, but I've not heard anything about its disposition at this point in time. And then Harvey Weinstein, that whole problem gets out. And then Alyssa Milano begins, I'm not sure it was her that started it, but she starts propagating the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too. And you see this snowball that is starting to run.
I gotta tell you, it's funny. I'm listening to here, and I've heard you talk about women and blah blah. However, I was a young man just out of college from the conservatory singing legit opera and hardcore music theater. I had gotten down to the 5th callback. I had been called back 5 times. They were doing Kiss Me Kate on Broadway. I don't know anybody who was out there who was old enough to remember that musical Kiss Me Kate, but Howard Keel, Alfred Drake, the really beautiful baritones,
Yeah.
And I got called back 5 times, and it came down to me and 1 or 2 other people, and the director wanted to take me out to dinner before making his final choice. He was grotesque on every level.
Mm.
And I knew I had to make a decision. And at that moment, I thought, I am good looking enough. I love myself enough. I have enough talent that I don't need to be using all of my charms, my lucky charms, for this situation. And
Did you go out to dinner with him?
Oh, no.
Oh, good for you.
No, I didn't. I turned down a Broadway gig, basically. And let me tell you, right on the heels of that, a very, very interesting story, which I'd love to be able to share. I know we're going on a bit, but fuck it. I was on my way. My very first singing teacher, Hortense Yule Harrington, she was a big deal. I'm not going to get into it. When I came back from my first year of conservatory to see her, because she had already prepared me, I had won awards, I had won scholarships for singing opera. I mean, I was performing all over the place, doing the national anthem everywhere, singing Ave Maria's out my ass. Anyway, that's a bumper sticker, Ave Maria's out my ass. Write that down. So, so I came back to see her. I had been the first freshman in the opera conservatory to ever get a lead role. I screwed over all these grad students, right? So I came back and I sat next to her. Here she was at 91. Grand old dame. Grand old dame. Complete with the bye-bye buddies. When she said goodbye, she had these large flapping arms, and she had a chignon, gorgeous silver hair like you, just blonde and peppered and... Oh, anyway. So she sat me down in her salon, and she said, Golden Boy. She used to call me Brown Eyes or Golden Boy. And she said, I'd like to tell you a story. I had just done my Carnegie Hall debut. And for all of you that don't know what that is, it's a major, major classical venue in New York City. And had gotten great reviews by the New York Times. And a conductor from the Metropolitan Opera, from the German wing at the Met, came to her salon, and she was a married lady with a child, and he came in, and she said, my dear, he sat next to me. He had the unmitigated gall to sit next to me and put his hand on my knee, which you got to understand now, we're talking about somebody who helped build a high school. I mean, we're talking about an old person. He put his hand on my knee and he said, Hortense, I heard your concert, and I believe the Metropolitan Opera could use you, and I believe there's something between us. And she said, Jason, I happen to be a Southern Baptist woman. That was the wrong move. I said, you're right, sir. There is something between us. It is your hat, and it is in the hallway. Good day. So you can imagine, like, with the whole garb on from literally 18. And she told, and now here's this religious woman, pious, taught Bible study. She told me this story, Janet, and this was right off the heels of me having turned down the guy. She looked at me and she said, "Don't make my mistakes."
Wow.
I just remember, this was a woman who I knew who never spoke a bad word about anyone at any point. I couldn't even tease it out of her like I'm able to tease it out of you. She said, "Don't make my mistakes." So isn't that a very strange thing?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe you should join the Pound Me Too movement.
Honey, I'm pounding too much to be doing it on a hashtag.
I opened my mouth. I stepped into that one.
Where are we at now, insanity?
Yeah, so I'm speechless. Doesn't usually happen except with Jason.
You never know. He's such a wild card. You know what I'm saying? You never know.
Be right back. Gina needs ice packs. I'm not sure if that's because she's laughing so hard that she bruised her face or something, but Gina, this is our usual morning banter. It starts right from the get-go with Jason, and unless something changes, I would expect it'll continue. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the moon, since that's the one thing I haven't talked about yet, because she actually has moved into the sign of Scorpio this morning. She's sitting at 0 degrees and very much closing in on Mars in Scorpio. I'd say men out there are getting a little more uncomfortable. That kind of goes without saying. But the moon represents the feminine, and she is about cycles of time, and moving in to meet up with Mars in a very feminine sign of Scorpio means that, and I'm not bashing men because I love men. And I think that for the most part, most men out there appreciate women and value what they bring to the table. And I think this then is really the call for us to really bring those men out, right? To start to maximize the equality figures that are out there. There are many men out there who support women and who see that this has been wrong. So let them step up and say, okay, we've had enough too, that we are not going to allow this to happen. And you know what, you damn Republicans out there in the House and the Senate right now who are so, like, holding on teeth and nails to your values, where are your values now when you're allowing a sitting president who is admittedly a
pussy grabber? Say it.
Yes.
He's a no good Cheeto looking pussy grabber.
I would say that the best thing that Republicans can do for themselves to save their party, to save their face, is to let this president go, because he is not helping your cause at all. And I dare say that there are many Republican men out there in the Senate and in the House and that are not engaging in this kind of sexual harassment and molestation and abuse. And they need to stand up, right? So the potential now with the moon moving in to meet up with Mars is that amongst themselves, they might be talking about the same thing, right? To come out of that closet that they've been in and say, to hang with party affiliation, let's go with values. Let's go with what's right. Let's go with what makes sense. And it doesn't make sense to, keep having this secret underbelly exposed. Let's just get it all out there now. Let's claim the fact that we don't want this happening to women. We don't want this happening to other men. We don't want this happening to people in general.
Period.
So, take a stand.
Period. On any fucking level. Take
exactly
out of it, Janet.
Yes, they need to take a stand. So Democrat, Republican, male, female, I don't care who you are. If you see what's happening out in that world and you are going, oh my God, this has been happening, stand up and do something. Stop being partisan about what it is you want to say or do.
Damn it.
Claim what's correct out there. Claim the rightness of exposing all of this and letting the people know that are in power, we won't tolerate this. And if you've engaged in this, you're out of here. I don't care if you're the president, and I don't care if you're the janitor. You are done. And off soapbox. End of day. Other fun
End
stuff
of opera.
happening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. End of opera.
But it's, Suzanne, you're right. It's truth. Everybody out there, I would bet you everybody out there is kind of feeling the same thing. Like, okay, we're tired of the expose. I secretly think, there's a part of us that really enjoys watching the mighty fall. But that's human nature.
I predict.
But I think what we're really tired of is the fact that this has gone on for so long and unchecked, and it's time for us to claim a new reality. So we do that by joining together and not separating. We come together and we say, okay, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, man or woman, this is not right. People should not be treated that way. And I think then that starts to trickle down to everybody. Not just women who've been sexually abused or anything like that, but what about men, black men who are out there being shot all the time just because they're black? We got to start somewhere. So right now.
Oh, did you come on for an encore? Oh,
I don't know.
You're off your soapbox and you're on for a fucking encore. You're boring me.
All right, everybody. I'm boring you.
Oh.
So.
No. I wanted to.
You got to speak louder. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, now I can.
You're better with the news. Has there been any traction with this idea to impeach Trump yet? Are people starting to talk about it? Are you seeing more buzz? Because there was an entire commercial, and I was wondering whether you saw that Trump commercial where there's this everyday guy, and he's speaking sincerely to the camera because his mind is blown that this is happening.
Well, you know what? I live in a blue state. Washington is very clearly a state that did not vote for Trump, that did not vote Republican. We have a Democratic governor and the Senate, and the representatives are all mostly, there's more Democrats than Republicans. So I don't know that those kind of commercials would gain traction here in this state because we're already leaning that way.
Okay.
So I would bet you start to see that more in states like Alabama
It was quite
TV.
unsettling. I mean, really, Janet, you're in the middle of your thing and you're watching and whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's not an infomercial. They're not selling anything. It's like this PSA. Public service announcement. As a public service to you, we're going to let you know that you're being led by an asshole. Also, if anybody gets the chance to watch the Craig Ferguson, he just did a special for Netflix. He was my favorite late time, night host. He said something that I thought, wow, was brain fart. He says, I never regretted quitting late night more than when that thing happened last November.
Yeah.
He said, it's talk show gold for freaking Christ. I mean, you saw this comedian being angry that he couldn't get out there and rip him apart every night and have fun with it.
Yeah. I think what was the most touching thing that I've seen recently was Jimmy Kimmel, this must have been a couple of nights ago, came out. And he was very upset because, Congress is dillying around with this program called CHIP, which is health insurance for children that kicks in when they have devastating things like heart problems or cancers and what have you, and their insurance doesn't cover. Let's say the family has insurance, but it's not covering the bulk of the child's medical. And he had his son with him who had, I guess, suffered from some kind of heart issue from birth. And he made the most amazing plea for people to come to their senses and look at what the hell are we doing when we're going to cut out a program for children, but put more money in the military or put more money into the rich masters of the universe at the top of corporate America by cutting their taxes when they're the ones that should be paying more. I mean, it's ridiculous, some of the things that have happened since this president took office, and it's not to blame him. I mean, we're all to blame for this because we're all watching it happen and doing nothing. But I think it's time to do something. It's time for us to really stop and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are our values? And guess what, women? It belongs in your lap. You're the ones, right, that haven't spoken loud enough yet. I dare say if we marched on Washington and we said, if you assholes sign that tax bill, you're done. Because if that tax bill includes a cut for children's health care, you're done. You can't do something like that without having an alternative plan in place for helping that, right? It just isn't right. It's not being human.
While you were talking, I started to get a psychic download.
I love it.
Let's see if it happens. I just got this horrifying feeling that the Cheeto, Donald Trump, the Cheeto is going to do something heinously inappropriate around Christmas. He's going to do something politically, physically, otherwise, and he won't even know he's done it. It'll be like a knee-jerk reaction thing that he did, and he won't be able to take it back. He's going to do something really fucked up during this holy time of Christmas. And that's my prediction. That's when you're going to see everything sort of solidify.
Well, you know, from an astrological standpoint, that makes sense because right around Christmas, actually December, it is on the winter solstice, so a few days before Christmas, the sun conjuncts Saturn at 0 degrees of Capricorn. That's a changing of the old guard. And it is karma coming home to roost. A big bright light called the sun focusing in on Saturn. And the negative side of Saturn is those things that are not karmically in alignment. So exposing the underbelly is still maybe not done yet. So I would look to the solstice as the setup to something. We shall see. It's always interesting right now. Life is interesting right now, even if it does, you know, as Suzanne says, makes her tummy sick. It does make me sick. It does make me crazy when I keep seeing this stuff happening that is counter to everything that is human in us. But sometimes I think you got to see the farcical side of things overblown, and then you can go, whoa, 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 what have I been participating in? You know, let's go backwards here and, you know, repaint the picture. So let's retell a new story. Let's create a story that is positive for everyone in this country. And whether you're black, white, male, female, pink, purple, it doesn't matter. Let's make it a people united in creating equality and opportunities for everyone. I think that's what our forefathers envisioned. We got off track somewhere. Money got us on track, off track. Greed got us off track somewhere. So, anything else you'd like to say, Jason, before we end for the day?
No, madam.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to us today. I'm loving that we're seeing new people every day that are coming in and watching. We love interacting with you. Send us your questions. Watch Jason this evening. No, you don't want to watch him. You want to hear him on Blog Talk Radio, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, 4 o'clock on the West Coast. I think we are delving into the sun card. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I'm a bad boy. I haven't gotten you a promo, but I wrote the show, so, you know.
Let's start. Here comes the sun. Hi, Joey. It's good to see you out there, too. So join us this afternoon on Blog Talk Radio, Living Astrology, for the Titillating Tarot with Jason Livanis show. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye, Jason. Love you.
I mean,